Welcome to the XCL Podcast.
Made by the XCL World Academy students for the whole of the XCL community. Our podcast is in-depth discussion, information, debate, and news.
Stay tuned for our episode of the XCL Podcast.
Hey guys, we're the XCL Podcast. My name is Jia Shah.
I'm Mia Del Chapa.
My name is Shivani Nair.
I'm Sriyansh Narwal-Sadi.
Today, we're going to be talking about how to reduce stress during this exam period and strategies to cope with it.
Shivani, what are your thoughts on exams?
Well, exams can be super stressful, and that's from experience. And I've also seen my sister, who's a current grade 11 student, and she's currently doing her examinations. She's usually very stressed and usually cooped up in her room for around 8 hours, I'd say, on weekends, because she's always in there studying, and I only really get to see her for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and occasionally like when she goes down to get a drink or something. What are your thoughts on it, Sriyansh?
Well, yeah, it seems like a bit of a ludicrous time to be studying, but I wouldn't know. I'm only grade 7. And I personally think that she probably should be cooped up in there studying. Well, not really cooped up, but she probably should be taking breaks to, relax herself. I can understand it would be pretty stressful to just stay in your room all day, no contact with other people, except at lunch, breakfast, and dinner, and occasionally drinks.
Yeah, I also agree with that as well. I think that when exams happen, I feel that people become more stressed about the word exams rather than the outcome of it. I feel that for me, I would be cooped up as well. I probably would start crying, but other than that, what are your thoughts, Gia?
Well, what I usually do during exam time is I study a bit. Study as in I review the important topics I have to know, and then I just take breaks, watch some Netflix, and relax for a bit, and then again go back to studying. Like, taking breaks is really effective, and I think it really helps you with retaining the information better, and also not stressing you out so much.
Shivani, have you ever taken breaks before? I have never taken breaks.
I have taken so many breaks before, and the breaks have actually turned into procrastination, because I'd start off something, let's say like preparation for a math exam. I'd start 2 questions, and then I'd get distracted with something. I'd be like, it's fine, I'll come back to this later. And then like the day before the exam, I'm like, oh no, I've taken like a 6-day long break.
For me, I don't procrastinate. I try to take breaks, but then I end up working on other work that does not need to be done until like 3 months later. But I feel like when is a good time to take a break, and when is it bad to take too much of a break which leads into procrastination?
Personally, I think you should probably have a timer or a certain amount of time set, like say 1 hour breaks. You should not be able to go over that, like say have your parents remind you, or have your own work ethic force you into doing that. Because if you take too long of a break, it will definitely just spiral down into procrastination. But if you take too short of a break, you'll get way too stressed, and that will probably reduce your studying efficiency.
Do you also believe when studying, music or other things help you to remember things? Or do you think that is not really effective?
It depends. Sometimes I think music is pretty nice and relaxing, but that's usually when I'm writing essays. But if you're asking me when I'm studying, I don't think it's really helpful. It will probably distract me and probably end up with me procrastinating.
Yep, same. So basically, when I have to study, like what Shreyansh said, I don't listen to music. But when it's just something like writing an essay or just writing this certain amount of words or writing a reflection, for example, I just turn on a song and then play it on loop until I'm done with that specific work. I listen to a song on loop until I'm done with that work, and that actually helps me do it faster.
When I do exams, I have this immense rush of stress and anxiety, thinking, oh, I'm gonna do something wrong, oh, I'm gonna forget this. Do you think that having a lot of stress causes you to fail your exams? Because I think that that's one thing that affects.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're like too anxious about what you're gonna do, you're gonna just like make yourself like forget the stuff you've already learned because you're too busy like overthinking.
Yeah.
Personally, I think there's a bit of a boundary. Like, if you're focused and you're concerned about your grade and you want to work hard towards the grade, then yeah, I definitely think that that's a good level of quote-unquote stress. But if you actually feel stressed, you think, I need to take a break, just take breaks. If you're overstressed, you're not going to do well on your exam, regardless if you study like hundreds of material.
I agree.
For me, I think some advice for our listeners of our XCL podcast would be maybe have the timer and also write down your schedule. What I do is I use Google Calendar to help me. It's my lifesaver at this point, and it tells me what to do, when to stop, and to take breaks. And sometimes it's good to take breaks. How do you feel when taking breaks, Shivani?
I actually feel a lot better. I feel less stressed and less anxious. What about you, Gia?
Well, breaks are amazing. They're basically the highlight of my day. If I have too much work on that specific day, the breaks really help.
Right.
Yeah.
One word, ambrosia, the nectar of the gods. It's amazing. Once you take a break, you just automatically go into a rest state, and eventually you just end up being able to work really good at the end of that break.
Yes. I do feel that helps a lot. Taking breaks and getting time to yourself is very important because it helps boost your energy to just kick butt.
Yeah. Seize the day.
Interesting analogy.
Another strategy would be like group study sessions, because when you're with your friends or like people you know, it's not like that stressful, and you can, you know, like talk it out, and like still, if you don't understand something, they can help you and you can help them. Like, it's mutualistic, and it doesn't get as boring.
Thank you, Neve.
Yes, Neve, that was really insightful,
So
and
cool.
it's a great strategy, actually.
I should do that more often. I tend to go by myself and be cooped up, but when I go with my friends, it's a lot easier because I have fun at the same time, and I also get more inputs and different perspectives of what we're studying.
Right. And in grade 6, actually, when we were in person learning before COVID hit, me and my friends actually had a group study session to study for our like little exam/test, and it was very effective, although I do believe that we got distracted a lot sometimes and started talking about other things, but the overall outcome was beneficial.
Do you think that since COVID, has that affected studying and how people study?
I think it might have, because, you know, after a bit of time staying in your own house, having to study on your own, you might be a bit more used to it and prefer it over studying with your friends. But I think most people would just study like they used to. Like, they might think, oh, finally, I can study with my friends again.
How do you think you can break old habits, Gia?
Well, you just gotta take that really hard first step of actually not doing what your bad habit is. That's super difficult, and people tend to procrastinate a lot, so do I, but there's no simple solution, you just gotta do it.
For me, I had this really huge habit of doing things on time, doing it by myself, and what I tend to do now is have a Google Calendar that tells me reminders, maybe take a break, or drink water, eat food, socialize. What are your thoughts, Shivani?
For example, I have a really bad habit of procrastination, and a few methods I've tried to stop doing that is by making myself just sit down and do it, and I'd have like a little treat in the end. I'll be like, alright, if I do this for like 1 hour, I can go down and like eat whatever.
Chocolate.
Yeah. Gia?
That's a good idea. It would definitely help you in actually getting your work done if
Yeah.
you have some sort of incentives.
Personally, I also think that incentivizing stuff definitely makes it more attractive or appealing to do. Like, for example, if you say, alright, if I do say, for example, 2 hours of studying, I can play video games for another hour, then sure, a lot of people would actually take that sacrifice. But for me, incentivization doesn't really work, because usually I can just somehow manage to wriggle my way into actually being able to do it without any studying. And I think I kind of disagree with the part where the first step is the hardest. I think the second step of maintaining that breaking of the habit, that's harder.
Why so? Why do you think that?
There have been several times I stopped procrastinating for 1 or 2 or maybe even a week. But other times, but after that week, I just stop. I procrastinate again.
For me, I think that the hardest part's the first step because every single time you're faced with a challenge, you always have to take that initiative and say, well, I have to do this. I have to study. I have to take breaks. I have to try. I have to make an effort into breaking my old habit of procrastinating or taking too much time on studying and not giving myself a social life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so as you can see, guys, there's many different ways of studying people use, and for some people, some certain methods may work, and for some, they may not. So, just to end this session, basically, you just need to experiment with different ways to reduce your stress, and you've got to find the best method for you. So,
A good thing to do is to go on Google and search up different techniques of studying and taking
Yes.
breaks, breaking old habits. Thank you. We are the XCL podcast. Thank you for listening.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.